Welcome back to the CaPower Hour. I'm Loryn Powell.
And I'm Shawn Casey.
And we are
the CaPows.
Pacow.
Pacow. Pygow.
What?
Isn't that a card game?
Pecan. Pecan. Do you say pecan or pecan?
Pecan. Pecan. I don't know. What a weird start to the show.
I think I say pecan. I think I say, no, there's actually three ways. Pecan, or pecan.
I think I used to say pecan pie. That sounds like very Michigan.
I think I say pecan.
Now that I've lived in California for 15 years, it's pecan.
Yeah, people roast me for being from the South, quote unquote, and saying pecan.
What's the South way to say it?
Pecan.
Pecan pie.
Pecan.
Try and be Southern.
I forget. I don't know.
That was like Colonel Sanders a little bit.
So I'm listening to Taylor Swift album finally tonight, and I needed to get my wine on.
Get a little head start.
Yeah. I know I'm very late to the party, but apparently having a kid makes it really hard to do anything ever, to have any time to yourself. And the thing is, with Taylor Swift's album, I don't want to just like listen to it.
You want to experience it.
I want to experience it. I don't want distractions. I don't want it playing in the background. It is the foreground.
And you don't want no kid ruining it.
I mean, I tried listening to it a little bit with her.
It's just hard. Like she needs to be the focus all the time when you're with her. And so it's going to be tough to.
Is it that much to ask? I just want to cry alone. So we just did something very difficult. And that is we traveled with an infant.
Wow, 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 wow.
So we had to fly. We were on 4 planes with her. And that makes us experts. Basically, we had one really good experience and one really bad experience. So I actually feel like we learned a lot and were able to pivot, and implement everything we learned on the way in, on the way out. Here are our tips and our thoughts on traveling with an infant. So Quinn is 5 months old. We traveled with a 5-month-old. Let's start from the tippy top. Choosing a flight.
Yeah.
So we chose a flight time. I don't think we made the right decision.
So we flew West Coast to East Coast.
It's a 5-hour, 6-hour flight.
Yeah. And so there is no real great time to get there. So it was like either you get up super early and you arrive in the afternoon, or you take an afternoon flight and you get in really late. And then you also have the overnight flight if you really wanted to test it. But insane. I did not want to touch an overnight flight with a baby.
We have friends who flew to Germany who did a red eye and they said it was great. I feel like Quinn would sleep 10 hours on a red eye.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
International, I would definitely try a red eye.
Like
domestically,
just fly during their bedtime.
Not. Yeah.
She would do it. For the other thing is we couldn't get a direct flight. So we were just asking for trouble. There's no direct flights from San Diego to Raleigh. We have to connect in Charlotte, which turns out is the busiest airport. We flew in to our connection at like 9:00 on Wednesday, and there were thousands of people there also connecting and going somewhere else.
Yeah, I feel like we're in Chicago. You know, Chicago's super busy. Yeah, I don't know what was going on in Charlotte.
We connected in Chicago on the way
back. It wasn't that
It
bad.
was not Charlotte.
Yeah.
Charlotte, what the frick are you doing over there?
What are y'all doing over there?
That was awful.
Eating a lot of pecan pie? Pecans. Pecan pie.
Pecaning on me. Anyway. Oh, boy. So, flight time. On the way there, we did an afternoon flight and landed. We were supposed to arrive at
like 10:30.
10:30 East Coast time. The issue is flights are always delayed, especially if you have 2. Now we're risking it. We're risking actually getting in at 10:30 on 2 different flights being on schedule. And of course, the last one wasn't. It was like an hour delayed. So we didn't actually get in until 11:30. I'm not sure which. I think both choices were wrong. I think we made 2 bad choices. On the way back home, our flight was at 6 a.m. So we had to wake Quinn up at 4 a.m., which was 1 a.m. West Coast time for her. But we landed at like 10:30. I guess she actually did really well with that time, and readjusting back
has been okay.
She's been great.
Yeah.
It was flying there, adjusting to East Coast time it took her 2 days to like figure out how to sleep again.
Yeah, I think the thing to remember too is like with this 6 a.m. flight, getting up at 4 a.m. So you're super tired. We're zombies, but she did great on the flight.
She did so well. I think she's a morning baby.
Yeah. But then we get to San Diego and we're like, okay, we made it. And it's like 10:30 a.m. And it's like, oh, we still have the full day of parenting.
Like we've had a day already.
Yeah.
It's 10:30 a.m., but we've been up since
9 hours.
4 a.m. East Coast, 1 a.m. West Coast.
And Quinn is just like, hey,
Hi.
let's hang out.
I'm so cute. Play with me.
So that was a tough day.
I don't know what we would have done differently, but
No.
she did have her best flight on the way home. So if you can, just be mindful of like your baby's temperament when you're choosing. If you have the flexibility to kind of pick and choose your timing, just think it through. Unlike us.
We thought it through and didn't arrive.
I don't think we did. I think we were spending so much money on the flight that we were like, okay, I guess we'll just take whatever times we can get because we wanted the extra leg room. We wanted to pay more for other things. So we sacrificed times. And I'm not sure that was the right move. Okay, so that's choosing a flight. Booking seats. So I had a lot of anxiety going into flying with an infant. So I made the decision to overpay and get first class seats because Quinn is such a quirky napper that I really was worried if we didn't have the arm room and the leg room that we wouldn't be able to get her to sleep and she was going to have meltdowns and I was going to also have a meltdown because I'd be worried about what everybody thinks. Sorry. I constantly am worried about what everyone thinks. It's an awful quality. Anyway, we overpaid for first class and having now done it, yes, it was nice and spacious. I feel like what a hack would have been to save more money would be to just buy the first 3 seats of bulkhead
in the first row
of the regular, of the economy. It would have been almost half as expensive as going first class. And like first class is all about the drinks and the meal and like
service.
And we can't drink. We got a baby in our hands. Our food we're trying to eat so quickly because we're just trying to minimize the stuff that she could knock over. So the first class experience with an infant
sort of lost.
It's kind of the perks of it are lost other than just how much space we had.
Right.
So I think maybe doing it again, I would try to buy 3 seats and have almost the same amount of space, but be in the first row of economy.
Yep. Because we only had 2 seats, we didn't really have anywhere to put her down to sleep. So we tried to make a little blanket mattress on the floor and she would not have that. So like if we had had a separate seat in between us, she might have been able to sleep on that.
Yeah, if we could pull the armrest up, we could have like put some blankets down and had her sleep. And she's such a sitter right now. She loves sitting up. And so we had her sit in our seat and then we sat on the floor with our first class ticket, we sat on the floor. And if we had a third seat, we could have let her sit upright, obviously still watching her, making sure she's not falling over. But she did her she had the best time sitting in the seat, playing with all the toys we brought.
Yep.
So yeah, I feel like first class is kind of lost when you have a baby and that trying to get that bulkhead, that first row seating if you can. And then also if that's just like way too expensive for you, I have heard that if there's an open seat, if you bring your car seat on the flight, which we didn't, even though you have an infant, you're designating the baby as an infant a lap infant or whatever, which basically means you don't need a ticket for her, but you are allowed to bring your car seat on the plane if there's an open seat and you could get that for free. So you could always gamble, because you can gate check your car seat if there isn't an open seat. But if there is an open seat, they'll tell you.
And they might put you in that.
And they'll give you a row with an open seat. So you buy 2 and you get a third one free.
The other thing is that on some domestic flights, if you're in bulkhead, you can request a bassinet as well.
Allegedly on domestic.
They said it depends on the plane. Oh. So I called American and they were like, all international flights have it.
Yeah.
And then some domestic, just depends on the plane.
So basically, if you get that front row in economy, there is a bassinet. Some planes have
to the wall.
A bassinet attachment you can lay the baby down in. Also, something to think about when you're choosing your seat is avoid picking a seat in a high traffic area or like near a bathroom. If there's one bathroom on the back of the plane and you're near the back, you constantly have people,
the door opening, closing,
and just people constantly walking by you. So when you're trying to get your baby to sleep and you're near a bathroom, I think just keep that in mind. If you have the ability to avoid the bathroom area when choosing your seat, I would do that.
Exit row would actually be perfect if they allowed babies.
I don't think they do.
They definitely don't. you have to be, I think, 14 or 16 years old to sit there. So
I keep forgetting that babies are like an age. Like I was doing this brand deal and they were like, no minors. And I had to ask, does my baby count as a minor? She's only 5 months old. I'm like, they're like, yeah, that's a minor. Oh, okay. Oh, you have to be 16 to sit next to her. Well, my baby doesn't count. She's a baby. I keep forgetting that they have like an age.
She's a human.
Yeah. No, just that they're like half a year old. Mm-hmm. Anyway. Okay. So that's now that you have your flight, now that you have your seat, not near the bathroom, TSA and security was actually pretty darn easy. We have pre-check. We didn't get to the airport that much earlier. Shawn, I tried. Lord knows I tried to get there.
I held strong
the day before and Shawn wouldn't allow it, but we breezed right through.
Yeah.
And
side note, if you don't have TSA pre-check, go get TSA pre-check. It's 5 years. It's $99 and it makes traveling infinitely easier.
Yeah.
Like it is the most minimal investment and the biggest return.
So TSA seemed like it was going to be really intimidating, especially trying to figure out, first of all, you can fly with liquid if you have a baby.
Yep.
So formula, breast milk, water that you need for your formula. I think even for toddlers and stuff, you can bring your own water for your children. I think, I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Let me just speak from the mother of a 5-month-old and nothing beyond. They basically, we brought ready to feed formula, which is a bottle of ready-made formula. And we just pulled it out in its own little cubby and they pulled it to the side. They swabbed it. They don't open it. They swab my hands. That's it. And then they let you go. The stroller, they make you take everything off. If you have a stroller bag, like they make you take that off. Not a big deal. If you have the baby in the stroller, you take her out. You have to walk through security, walk through the little beeper
metal detector,
carrying her. And then the stroller goes through and they like, do whatever they need to do to the stroller. So TSA and security were not nearly as crazy as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Very easy.
Yeah. Especially in pre-check, you don't have to pull you don't have to take your shoes off. You don't have to pull your liquids out. Or are people still pulling their liquids out in regular line?
I think so.
Well, we checked a bag, so all of our liquids were in there anyway. Yeah. The only liquid we pulled out was the formula.
I think the other thing too is like, this is our first time doing it. So we were like so nervous, but the pre-check or TSA people, I'm sure hundreds of times a day, they have people come through with babies. So
yeah. That was nice. They just directed us. Yeah. I was just standing there like a deer in headlights and they're like, okay, you need to take everything off the stroller, put it here, blah, 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 take the baby out. Like they were really nice. On our flight home, it was like, oh, we already knew what to expect.
Right.
It's the thing. Everything is hard the first time. We have friends who are like, oh, flying with an infant is so easy. Wait till you have to fly with a toddler. Okay. Was it that easy the first time you did it? Like looking back, you probably are like, man, I can't believe I had anxiety about that. But you have to keep in mind the first time anyone does anything, it is challenging.
Yep.
It felt hard leading up to it. It felt hard in the moment. Looking back,
we got through it.
We got through it.
Yep.
Yeah. So TSA, not a big deal at all. Now we've gotten through TSA. What's next? Getting on the plane. I think we did this
really well.
Stupendously, I would say.
Stupendously.
What we did is so divide and conquer with your partner. So we had a stroller car seat situation. It's called the Duna. It's a car seat that turns into a stroller. The wheels pop out, but it collapses to be your car seat. It's really great for travel because then you don't need a car seat and a separate stroller. So Shawn got this like stroller bag where he could wear the stroller as a backpack.
Like it's way bigger than you think.
It's insane.
Hilariously.
But
it worked really well. Yeah.
So we split up. I put baby on me in the carrier and I walked around the airport. The first flight, I think we did it wrong. And the second flight, I think we did it right. The first flight, I actually got her to take a nap while everyone was boarding the flight. I was like, let me get her to have a quick nap. Cause by the time we get on the plane, she'll eat and then she'll just be a happy baby. When we did it the second time, I stretched her. I didn't let her nap. So then she ate, she fell asleep and she slept for like the first hour and a half of the flight. Yep. And I think that was way better.
Yep.
So anyway, Shawn, we divided. Shawn goes and gets on the plane first. He gate checks the stroller. Did you told them, hey, we have a really short connection. Do you think that made a difference?
No.
Okay.
They just sort of like nodded and like ignored me.
Got it. And did you think it took a long time to get your stroller?
No, it was 5 or 10 minutes. So, I mean, the whole plane had almost fully deplaned by the time I got it, but
And how many bags
it was like
Was it
3 or
like-
4 strollers.
that came out before yours? So
Yeah,
does
no.
the order of
I don't think so.
stroller?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's there's probably only 3 or 4 per flight. So it was like a couple strollers, a couple wheelchairs maybe, or something like that. So on these flights, there was probably 3 or 4 bags and they sort of brought them all up at once. So I don't think me saying, hey, we have a really fast layover.
Made a difference.
Yeah.
And by trying to be the first one to gate check your bag, it did make a difference in the order it came
I
off.
don't think so.
Okay. So Shawn, gate check the stroller / car seat. If you are bringing your car seat on, then you can just gate check your stroller. Or if you don't even want to use your stroller in the airport, you can just check it, I think for free as a check when you check your bags.
Oh,
Yeah. If you are just bringing a stroller that you need for where you're going,
got it.
but it's not actually.
I think having the stroller
I
in the
do too.
airport is nice in case you get delayed. You now have something that you can push the baby around in
Right.
rather than having to carry her the whole time.
Yeah, and the car seat is probably annoying to lug around. So if you
Sure.
put your car seat on your stroller. Anyway, you know what's funny? I am such an anxious flyer. Newsflash, I'm sure this is brand new information for you, especially flying Southwest. I think flying Southwest gave me a lot of anxiety about getting on the plane and getting a seat where you have to have your number. You have to get in line. If you miss your boarding position, you get a shitty seat. You just do.
It's like Lord of the Flies.
What is it?
Survival? Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So usually I'm very stressed out boarding a flight because I'm like, I need to get my seat, especially with Southwest. You don't know what your seat is going to be till you get there. And then when you get there, you're like quickly scanning the whole plane to see where your seat's going to be. For the record, we weren't flying Southwest with a baby, but I'm just saying that my anxiety has been built up for years.
Because of Southwest.
Because of Southwest. I gotta say, I wanted to be the last person to board the flight with the baby because it's like you have a limited window of that baby being cool, and the least amount of time she spends on the plane, the better. So I was like, I want to be the actual last person before they shut that door, and that gave me so much freedom and peace.
Yeah.
Where I was like, my goal is to be the last one. Also kind of like a fun little challenge. There were a couple times where there'd be a guy, he'd be like, I could see he was trying to get me to go ahead. And I was like, no, you go. And it was like, he was trying to be the last one on the flight. But every flight, there was always some lax dude who just wanted to waltz on.
That's me. I want to be the last person on the flight
you're
all
not-
the time.
But this guy's waltzing on. You run because you didn't get there till just seconds before.
Not true.
This guy was chilling. He was just biding his time.
Okay.
But I was like, no, I will be last. So it was a fun little competition between no one except me.
Okay.
I forget where I was going with this. The wine is whining.
It made it easy so you're the last one on the plane.
Yeah. So basically, while everyone's boarding, I'm just walking around with her in the carrier. The first time I did it, she was napping. I just kept, I walked around the airport, kind of stayed close by, kept checking what group they were calling. And then I finally, when it seems like the last of the people are in line, I got in line.
The nice thing about doing it this way is that while you're waiting out in the airport, I got to the seats first, wiped everything down, got our bags ready, made a bottle, basically got everything ready. So if we were together, it'd be really hard to do all of the things all at once, right? We would be holding up the people in line forever because you'd be there waiting with the baby. I'd be trying to do all this. By splitting up, it made it really easy for me to get that done. So when you showed up on the airplane, the bottle's there, her toys are there, everything's been sanitized. It just was really easy situation to walk into.
Yeah. I think we nailed that process. When I finally got on the plane, I asked the flight attendant because there were still people ahead of me who hadn't sat yet. So I was like, do you mind if I just stand here in the flight attendant area? Because I was just bouncing her because she was still asleep. That's the other thing. The flight there, she was still asleep when I got on the plane. So I was like, let me stretch this nap as long as I can. The moment I sit down, she's going to wake up. And this particular airline, they were like, you can't have her in the baby carrier during takeoff and landing, which Quinn doesn't like being in the baby carrier. When you sit, she can I don't know if she just feels cramped. So I didn't expect her to be able to stay in the baby carrier anyway, but just an important note. If you are someone who wants to wear the carrier, it seems like they want you to take them out of the carrier during takeoff and landing,
which is a little weird because she's way more secure in the carrier than in your arms, but
I don't know. Yeah. So then I sat down. Within minutes, we're taking off. So the big tip that I got from everyone was make sure you feed the baby during takeoff and landing because it helps them equalize. It helps pop their eardrums, the sucking, whatever. So whether you're breastfeeding or bottle feeding or even a pacifier, I've heard just make sure they're sucking on something at takeoff and landing. The first flight, I kept like, I was ready. I was trigger happy. I was like, let's feed her. And it was like, we're taxiing. And
You want to wait till the last possible
literally,
moment. Yeah.
you should wait until wheels up.
Yep.
Or not wheels up, but like you're in the air. Like takeoff you have taken off. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
Wheels are not on the ground.
Yes. All of those things were the same thing.
Let me explain it again a different way. So because like if you feed her too early, you run out of food.
Right.
And you need her to be eating when... Do I need to explain this more?
I don't think so.
Okay. Fun fact. I have a friend who made the mistake of taking her like Ambien. She was going on an overnight flight and she took her Ambien when she sat down on the flight, and then the flight ended up getting delayed. They had to go back to the gate and she'd already taken her Ambien. She was so delirious. She was doing like yoga in the aisles. Like doesn't remember any of it.
Yeah. So always wait to feed your baby or take your drugs until after
you're
your plane is in the air.
You're not going back to the gate.
Yes.
Okay, so we did that. We did that part well.
Yeah, and then on landing, we had already fed her so much that day that we're like, oh, do we need to do this? And
Turns
the
out,
answer is yes. Yes, you do.
1,000,000,000% you do. Quinn had a meltdown on the landing.
But luckily, it was only like the last 15 minutes of the flight.
But 15 minutes while a baby is wailing and you can't stand up because it was on descent.
Right.
And seatbelt time was on and we can't stand up to like calm her. And she's screaming in first class. And I'm just like, oh God, what these people must think of me.
Well, they must be thinking, obviously, that you're a terrible parent because your baby's crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like that Onion article where it's like, parents of crying baby must not be any good. Sources confirm Friday that parents of a crying infant must not be any good.
That's not how I don't think people are like, oh man, what a bad mom. I just think people are like, oh my God, how dare you? How dare you bring a baby on a plane? You know, babies are humans and they deserve, apparently babies are humans. They're minors. I don't know if you do.
They have an age.
They deserve to fly. They need to go visit their family. Like your little business trip. Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't even overpay for this seat, Mr. Businessman. Your company paid for your seat. And guess what? You sleep great. You don't need 6 naps a day, Mr. Businessman. And you're sitting behind me, judging me, and this is all in my head. And you're thinking, man, that baby needs to shut up. And I'm like, well, you need to stop sniffing so loud, bro. Because your sniffing is waking up my baby.
Seems like you had a full conversation in your head. To be clear, no one said anything to us. In fact, most people were very supportive and smiling and
actually, when she had her meltdown, there were these 2 women who immediately, the moment I was able to stand up with Quinn, she was still crying and they just like started making faces at her and she stopped crying. And I was like, I started crying because I was like, thank you. Like these women were angels who just made my baby stop crying just by playing peekaboo or like quickly making a face. Mm-hmm. Godsends. Anyway, back to, we're on the plane. We're still on the plane.
We didn't feed her. She had a meltdown.
Yeah. Okay.
So feed your baby on takeoff and landing.
Yeah. Because their ears, it was clear like her ears were popping and she was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't like this.
Yeah. That must be such a weird
sensation.
Horrible thing where it's like, it's happening to you. It's never happened before and it's uncomfortable and painful. So I totally understand why a baby would cry.
The way we timed her nap on the way in was not as good as the way we timed her nap on the way out. So I was so worried about her being overtired and then having a meltdown that I wanted to give her that nap before we got on the plane. And then on the way home, we stretched it. I kept her awake. And when we sat down and fed her, she fell
zonked
asleep.
Right out.
Yeah, she ate the whole bottle, but her eyes were closed. She was and then she slept for over an hour in my arms, like just happy as a little clam.
Oh, okay.
Why is that a saying?
I have no idea.
What kind of clams are sad?
What kind of clams are happy? Oh.
What's in this wine?
Nice. Moving on.
Yeah. So if you can, depending on your baby's temperament, for us, I think we will always try to stretch her wake window and make her take a nap
on the plane
as she's eating, falling asleep.
Yep.
That first stretch. She was so happy. For someone who woke up at 4 a.m. and had interrupted sleep, she was so happy. Okay, here's the one. I'm going to give you a lot of gems. I've already given you so many gems. Here is the gemmiest gem of all the gems. Headphones.
Oh, yeah.
Baby headphones, not for the parents, not dad headphones. There are so many noises on an airplane that you really don't think about. People opening bins, people talking, which is fine. They have the right to talk. Flight attendants talking, even though they see that your baby is asleep. The announcements are on volume 1 million for some reason. They hurt my ears. I honestly, for protection's sake, wanted to put headphones on just to protect her from the loudness of the announcements.
Yeah. I think there's so many things going on in an airplane that like your adult brain just tunes out and that a baby brain cannot. They're reacting to every single piece of stimulus that's happening on an airplane.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to get them to sleep,
and then somebody closes delicately the overhead bin.
Right.
That shit's loud. Okay, so Quinn's headphones, I'll link them in my Amazon store. She did great with them. I've seen some that they can like strap around their head so they don't fall off. Quinn didn't even she didn't touch them with her hands once.
She doesn't seem to care.
She really didn't care.
Yeah.
We did practice wearing them we went to a sports bar during March Madness. Just brought the headphones, didn't really know how loud it was going to be. It's really loud. Sports fans are
shocking
loud. And so we put the headphones on. She was in the carrier and she slept great. She slept so well with headphones on and it protected her hearing. Mm-hmm. Maybe she's just a headphone girl, but I would say practice, get them used to it maybe ahead of time. So we put the headphones on. We didn't have them on the whole time. It was in the beginning when they're making all those announcements, we had the headphones on, or if we thought she was going to take a nap, we put the headphones on to prevent her from being interrupted from the noises. I don't know. She slept so peacefully. I'm like, should we just give her headphones all the time? So headphones, big win.
Yep.
How to get your baby to sleep on a plane.
Yeah, that was a little tough. I mean, on the way back, we fed her and she fell asleep almost immediately, which was pretty easy. On the way there, where we didn't time the feeding right and the nap time right, it was harder. I put her in the carrier and I walked up and down the plane 20 times.
Did you really?
Yeah. And eventually, that's how she falls asleep at home too. If we're on a walk, we have her in the carrier, she falls asleep. So
baby wearing the baby carrier is your friend on the airplane. As long as there's no turbulence, walking up and down the aisles with the baby in the baby carrier.
Yeah, that really helped. Because, I was holding her for probably 20, 30 minutes before she actually fell asleep. Yeah. So,
you sat down with her in the carrier and she slept a little longer
and I was just planking, trying to hold my body straight without moving.
Yeah.
So, maybe some other babies fall asleep much easier. I think Quinn still hasn't really learned how to just fall asleep on her own. Yeah. So we have to sort of rock her and bounce her to sleep. Yeah. So if your baby falls asleep easy, maybe you'll have an easier time. But yeah, I just walked up and down the aisle on the plane for 20, 30 minutes and she eventually fell asleep.
Yeah. The other thing I was worried about was she gets bored so easily. So at home, we have to move her from station to station because she just gets a little fussy if she's over whatever stimulation we've given her. She did not really get bored being in an airport and being on an airplane. There was so much to look at. Mm-hmm. She just was so content people watching, you know?
Yeah.
So that was a nice surprise of okay, I don't have to keep her as entertained as I thought.
Just because there's so much going on all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about our products. Everything we bought for this flight that we think was worth it or not worth it. So the big question was the Duna car seat stroller situation. When we first tested it out at home on our cobblestone, I don't know, our rickety sidewalks that
really
are so
poorly
bumpy,
paved sidewalks.
We were this is a nightmare. She hates this. She's crying because it's so uncomfortable. Being in an airport on smooth ground,
it's fine.
She was fine.
Yeah.
She fell asleep. She actually napped in it in one of the car rides, which she barely ever does in her regular car seat.
Right.
What do you think? Yes or no? Was it worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Duna was definitely worth it. the stroller piece, like as long as you're on paved, smooth surfaces, it's fine. We're not going off-roading with it. We're not going on like, walks in the forest with it.
Don't bring it to Italy. Don't bring it to Rome or Florence where it's literal cobblestones.
Yeah.
That is not the stroller for Italy.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is a stroller for
Probably
Italy.
not. I mean, none of the travel strollers have the suspension, nice wheels. They're all the simplified, bare bones version.
Because it's meant to be easy to travel with.
Yeah, exactly. So the Duna car seat comes with a base, but when you're traveling, the base is really heavy and really bulky. So like, I don't know why you would take the base and the car seat.
There are certain car seats that don't require a base to lock into a car. Not all of them are like this, but our Nuna, we actually bought the Nuna Pippa RX, our main car seat, because we thought we would be traveling with it, because it doesn't require a base. It can hook in through the seatbelt system.
Yep.
Not all car seats can do that. If that's important to you, look for a car seat that has the ability to operate without the base. The Duna is also one of those where you don't need the base. The base is heavy. It's bulky. Carrying it around the airport because
it almost defeats the purpose of having it. It's like, why would you travel with this big, bulky, heavy thing?
If your car seat is capable of operating without the base, bringing it might just bring you peace of mind if you're worried about that extra layer of protection. But all of them, I mean, these car seats, they say like these have been tested to work without a base.
And they're approved, and that's like, it's a European style of doing it. Apparently, like all the ones in Europe don't use bases. They just use that style of using the car seat or the seatbelt.
So practice, that's the other thing, like practice
at home
using the seatbelt method, because what we learned was like not all seatbelts are created equal.
Well, and the video that Duna puts out on YouTube showing you how to do it, you basically have infinite length of seatbelt to wrap it. And the 2 cars or 3 cars that we tried it in, like if you tried to do it in the method that Duna said, you would think that the seatbelt was too short. And so we had to play around with it. We basically had to change the order of what Duna said, and we got it to work. So if you get the Duna and you feel like your seatbelt's too short, there is a better way of doing it.
I mean, even though you had practiced, we sat there in the, the nice thing is when you have a baby and you're at arrivals and you're waiting for your car is picking you up, man, they really do not honk at you. They don't tell you to hurry up.
It's such a low pressure situation. Yeah.
It's like you have a baby. You're joking?
Oh, I thought you were joking.
No, I'm saying nobody was telling us to hurry up because we had a baby.
Sorry, I thought you were being sarcastic.
No.
Okay.
And so, but it took, honestly, even though you had practiced, it took 5 to 10 minutes to get the
because the seatbelt was completely different. Yeah. But we eventually got to work. And then like, once you understand the car that you're in, or even this method of doing it, you just like change the steps. Yeah.
For a bunch of other cars. Yeah. So Duna, definitely worth it.
Yep.
I think as a travel stroller, I wouldn't use it as my main stroller.
Yeah. And the idea of only having one big heavy thing that you're carrying around and you can put in a backpack, that was really, really helpful.
One of the bad things about the Duna is there's no undercarriage. There's no storage undercarriage like most strollers, because obviously that's where the wheels go. But they do make a Duna bag that straps. It's pretty big. It's bigger than my other stroller bag that straps to the handles. And then the gate check bag that protects it. Because they're like, don't gate check your stroller without protection, because you don't know what type of materials could get on it that could irritate the baby. You could mess up the stroller entirely. So there was a travel bag for the Duna, and it kind of allows you to like stuff whatever you want in there. Mm-hmm. So once you have the bag on the stroller, you can put stuff in the Duna seat. Like you can just
spare diapers, whatever
you want. Cause they're not like weight checking it. They don't care what you stuff in your bag. But the gate check bag itself, like rolled up really nicely and attached to the front of the Duna. So I thought that was all like really smooth and seamless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So Duna, good job, even though I had my doubts. Other products. Okay, this one is so fun. It is a little travel pacifier sanitizer. It's a little box. It's a UV light sanitizer for your pacifiers. It's a little box with a strap. You can clip it to the outside of your diaper bag. I used it so much. Like if you want to like wipe down, if you get a bunch of dust or dirt on the pacifier, you have to like wipe it down. But then putting it in the little sanitizer box, I just felt so much better about being on an airplane with all the germs. and then giving her this pacifier.
Because Quinn was constantly spitting out her pacifier,
yeah.
dropping her pacifier. So
Yeah. So
how long does it take to?
Cool. 60 seconds. Yeah. And then I also got these like Arm & Hammer wipes specifically for like bottles or pump parts or pacifiers. It's a wipe that is safe for the baby to then put in their mouth.
Oh, okay.
You can't use like a sanitizer wipe on a pacifier. You know what I mean? All of the best things that we loved are linked in my Amazon storefront under like travel faves with baby, something like that. Travel baby faves, baby travel faves, baby travel. Buy it.
Okay.
You know how to do the internet. You'll find it.
Yeah.
You'll find it.
And man, you must be making so much money from
my
all
God.
these referrals from
I know.
Amazon.
Amazon is such a joke. I really want to help people.
Yeah.
So my Amazon storefront is truly just like, I want to be a source of reliable and helpful information, but it's certainly not making me any money. What
Yeah.
a joke. I linked, what did I link? The headphones. I like posted a picture of Quinn and I linked the headphones out and there were like, I don't know, I sold like in a day, $700 worth of these headphones and I made $2. Two big old buckaroos. Anyway,
Yeah. So this is not sponsored. This is just, we're trying to help you find
Yeah.
the best stuff.
Yeah, I love being a source of like helpful information. And if 1 million of you buy the headphones, maybe I'll make $50. Okay, what other products? Oh, so suction cup toys are your best friend.
Yep.
We had suction cup spinners. They rattle. They're like fidget toys, but for babies, and they rattle, and you can suction cup it to the window or your table,
Tray or whatever,
table. Yeah. That kept her entertained. There was this little suction cup Ferris wheel.
Where did we get that thing? Was that Amazon too? That one, she is transfixed by that one.
Loved it. That saved the day a couple times.
Yeah.
It like lights up. It makes noise. It spins.
It's got those weird little beady eyes that she
It
loves.
has eyes, man. She loves beady eyes.
Should we be concerned that she loves like beady eyes?
Don't worry. I'll make a note for the pediatrician. Questions to ask.
Our baby loves beady eyes. Should we be concerned?
Lots of teethers. So she's obviously, I think babies, once they start in the teething phase, they love putting all sorts of stuff in her mouth. And so we just had a ton and I just kind of kept rotating them, but just having an endless supply of kind of teethers kept her entertained. And a crinkle book. She loves her freaking crinkle book from Love Every.
The thing that we sort of like underestimated was how comfortable Quinn is in her own nursery, right? So when a baby is
The
sleeping,
bitch is comfy. Pat me on the back because she loves her nursery.
she loves sleeping in her
And
nursery.
maybe it's a little too great because she did not sleep well for 2 days.
Yeah. But like you think about it, like, all right, you're in a nursery and there are so many factors, right? So you have the mattress, you have the temperature, you have the humidity, you have the light, you have, all of the sound machine. You have all of these things that are perfectly tuned over 5 months to make this baby go to sleep.
Yeah.
And we just thought that like, hey, if we could like put her in a situation that's like kind of close to that, she probably will sleep just as good.
She is such a great night sleeper. A great night sleeper. She always has been. She sleeps 10 to 11 hours a night. I've never been worried about her night sleep. And that was a mistake. And she struggled so much with the time change. She struggled with the pack and play. So here's the other thing. If you are going somewhere, most places have, like if you go to a hotel, I think they have cribs. I think they have pack and play of some sort. My mom had a pack and play left over from like when my brother's kids were there. And I didn't even think to ask was, hey, is the bassinet insert still there? Because pack and plays have 2 levels. There's a level for a baby that can't sit up and crawl and get out of their crib yet. And then there's a level all the way to the floor for more toddler, right? So we get there and it's just this big pack and play with the floor part, with the mattress all the way at the floor. And I'm like, oh, Quinn, who needs to be rocked to sleep and then delicately,
Placed down.
placed down.
If you breathe wrong, she's waking up.
If you swallow, she'll hear it. Effectively, we have to bend over and touch our toes without bending our legs to get her to the bottom of a pack and play.
Yeah.
So we did that and
it
it didn't
did not
work.
go
So
well.
I was so it's like, let's paint the scene. Let's paint the picture. It's like 1:30 by the time we get home. She fell asleep in the car on the way, 1:30 a.m. She fell asleep in the car, thankfully. We get her out, still asleep, shockingly. Get her upstairs, still asleep in her car seat. Get her out, still asleep. Like everything was going so well until it was not. We also brought our sound machine. We brought our Hatch. Highly recommend because it is a light that you might need. It's like a red light if you need it, and your sound machine. And we have portable sound machines, but those you have to charge. So to use the sound machine all night, like we just brought the Hatch and the little charging port, whatever. Highly recommend. We keep trying to get her down to the floor level and we can't. So I'm like, okay, I had shipped a slumber pod to my parents' house.
And what's a slumber pod real quick?
So a slumber pod, everybody raves about this. All of our friends love it. It's a blackout tent that goes over a small crib, a pack and play for travel. And it has a little area on the top where you can put your baby camera. It has a fan attachment so that you can get air circulation. And then it has a small hole, tiny little hole for you to stuff your baby into and delicately set her down to the floor. It was a comedy of errors.
It was impossible.
Slumber pod is not for babies who need a lot of pomp and circumstance to get to sleep.
Well, also babies who are not being placed in the
bassinet.
But
even once we had the bassinet, we couldn't getting her delicately into that little arch hole.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
I think the slumber pod is going to be valuable once she's a little older.
I agree.
The combination of the pack and play and the slumber pod.
Yeah. So now we've added this slumber pod because I'm like, oh, she must be having trouble falling asleep on the floor level because it's too bright.
Well, because the other thing about the room that we were in, there was no blinds. There were no blinds. There's tons of light coming in. So we're like, oh, it's too light in here.
Yeah.
Let's add the slumber pod.
So I go downstairs with Quinn. I keep her asleep in my arms and I make you build the slumber pod upstairs.
And it's like, again, it's 2 a.m.
At this point, it's probably 2:30 because we've tried getting her down. So it's 2:30 and I'm like, it's the slumber pod. That's what we need. So you're building the slumber pod. I'm keeping Quinn asleep. It is just insane trying to stuff your baby through a tiny hole and then bend over and touch your toes inside of the tent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stay asleep either.
Yeah.
So eventually we abandoned. Now it's like 3:30, right? It's like 3:30 a.m. and we're just like, screw it. Let's take the little.
Because she like, as soon as you put her down, she starts crying and she's not happy. So she's like screaming, crying until you pick her up again.
Yeah. Or she'd fall asleep for 5 minutes and then wake back up crying. So we did that over and over and over. And we finally took the mattress. Thankfully, my mom had gotten a mattress for the pack and play. The pack and plays come with a little foldable pad.
Yeah.
Thankfully, my mom had a mattress that we were able to remove, and we just put her on the floor because she's not like rolling. She's not going anywhere. We put her on the floor next to the bed, and she finally slept.
Yeah, slept for 7 hours at that point.
Yeah.
But it was like 3:30 or 4 a.m.
And then, oh man, that first night was not great. And then the second night, we made the mistake of thinking she had adjusted to the time zone. So it's 3-hour difference. And we're like, okay, 7 o'clock is her usual bedtime at home. Let's put her down at 7 o'clock in North Carolina. At 7 o'clock, it's 4 o'clock. It was like 10 o'clock before we got her to go to sleep. And it's like, yeah.
That's her actual bedtime.
That's her actual bedtime. We definitely did not consider time change.
So eventually got it figured out. We actually went to Target and got a pack and play that had the bassinet insert. She slept in that a little better.
And we abandoned the slumber pod.
Well, we also hung a blackout curtain on the window.
But abandoned the slumber pod because still stuffing her in that hole when it's such a delicate process.
It's a delicate process of stuffing her in that hole.
I think the slumber pod is probably really great if your baby doesn't have an issue.
Yeah.
If you don't have an issue putting your baby down for naps. The other thing is the slumber pod smelled really it smelled chemically. And so I don't know if she just couldn't handle the smell. So now I'm like, I still think that the slumber pod is going to be super helpful, but I want us to air it out at home
or wash it. I think the key learning for me was, with the car seat or with the Doona, we practiced at home, right? We did it. And so it's like, we talked about this where if you're trying to put your baby into a new situation, don't wait till 2 a.m. Night that you're trying to do it to introduce it. Okay, hey, we're going to put you into a slumber pod because we're going on vacation. Maybe the 2 or 3 nights before you leave, she now sleeps in a slumber pod, or like, just introduce those things to the baby ahead of time, to the parents also ahead of time, so that the first time you're trying it is not in the middle of the night and your baby's, obviously overtired, you're exhausted. Exactly.
Oh, I mean, so we're going to Hawaii in 3 weeks. Are we bringing the slumber pod?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Try it again. We'll update you if it gets any better. Okay. What to pack for the baby on the airplane? Best advice I got was 2 outfits for the baby and 1 outfit for mom and dad when that baby inevitably shits on you.
That makes sense. I mean, we did that. Luckily,
I changed. So she didn't do anything on the plane, luckily. But during our connection, when I was walking, you guys, the Charlotte airport is insane. I literally walked 3 miles during our delay. That's how I saw 10,000 people just bustling around. I logged a walk on my Apple Watch.
Nice.
Alex texted me. She was like, "Did you make it?" And I'm like, "No, I'm in an airport and I'm stuck." Anyway, Quinn, I'm walking, like trying to get her to the family restroom to change her diaper. And I just feel she's in the carrier. And all of a sudden it gets
really warm,
very warm on my belly. And I was like, oh no, she peed. Wrong. So, but thankfully I had an extra top in my bag. So yeah, bring an extra shirt for mom and dad in your carry-on, whatever you're bringing with you on the plane, and bring 2 outfits for baby.
Apparently babies always poop on an airplane, and she definitely pooped on the way back.
Yeah.
And I had but it was while we were landing. So it happened. And I just had to sit there.
We're just sitting there like praying to the huggy
like,
gods.
please don't leak. Please don't leak. Please don't leak. And she did not leak.
Oh, definitely pack more burp cloths than you think your baby needs. If you're like, oh man, my baby doesn't really spit up anymore, something inevitably will happen where they will spit up more than necessary. She went through so many burp cloths, and just having one to kind of drape over her head to help her sleep was nice. And then, I think
just generally bring more than you think you need, whether it's toys, whether it's burp cloths, whether it's diapers. It's like, you'd rather have too many and not need it than not have enough and need it.
Yeah.
So,
and the nice thing about the gate checking your stroller with a stroller bag, especially if you have a connection and you don't have enough room for diapers, like stuff that thing full of diapers and wipes, especially, or if you're worried about your checked bag being too heavy, stuff it all in that like buys you so much space when you gate check your stroller. Okay. Other lessons that I feel like I learned, I now have like a new perspective on being a passenger when seeing a mom and dad with a baby. There were times where I was playing with Quinn and I'd lift her up and I'm like, she's looking at someone behind me, I think, and she's smiling. I don't know what the person behind me is doing, but if they're making a face at her, if they're like engaging her, entertaining her, distracting her, I am thankful. I'm like, this is great. You're going to buy me an extra 5 minutes. Like, here I am just trying to make sure that she doesn't cry. I keep her happy this whole flight. So if a baby makes eye contact with you, make googly eyes, play peekaboo, do something, because that's going to buy that mom or dad an extra few minutes of distraction.
So you told me this and I was so like, I always do that. I've always done that. And like,
when babies make eye contact with me, I'm like, look away. Look away. I don't see it.
Oh,
I told you I was not a baby person before.
Yeah.
I'm a baby
All
person
right, so
now.
non-baby people,
listen up.
Try and be baby people. We both have a new respect for traveling with kids. When you were doing your 3-mile walk, I saw a dad with a huge bag strapped to the front of him and a huge bag strapped to the back of him, carrying like a 1 or 2 year old. And like, I could tell he was just like having some troubles. And I was like, hey, my wife's walking with our baby right now. I'm just watching bags. Like, do you want me to watch your bags? And like, I'm not going anywhere. Obviously you're struggling.
Do you want to set some stuff down?
Yeah. Do you want to set some stuff down? I'm not leaving. And he just like looked at me and was like, yes, thank you. I want to go get some food. And so he took his son and they went and got food and came, it was Bojangles.
Nice.
Came back and, just had fun. But he's like, thank you so much. And I was like, yeah, I would hope that if someone saw me, I'm like, this is really hard. And I have my partner here.
Right. He had the baby. He was doing what you were doing and he had the baby.
Right.
He was doing what both of us were doing.
Right. And so I was like, it's really hard with 2 people. I can't imagine what it's like with 1 person.
Yeah,
and
that's so nice of you.
I just saw him and could picture myself in that situation. Yeah. And I'm like, I would love for someone to help me in this. So it's hard to have that perspective without
going through it
or being in it yourself. So
another thing, if you're seeing a mom or dad on the airplane and their baby is crying a lot, or even if they're not, tell those parents that they are doing a great job, or at the end of the flight, tell them they did a great job. Or talk to the baby, like all you want to hear is
it's okay.
Is she did such a good job on that flight, even if she didn't lie to them. You know what I mean? Like the woman on the first flight, she was so nice. She was like, you did a good job to the baby, to Quinn. The flight attendant on our last flight was like, wow, she was so great. I would take 10 of her any day. Like it goes such a long way telling those parents who were just stressed that whole time that they did a great job, or tell the baby she did a good job. It's all we want to hear. If nobody says it, then I'm just thinking, wow, everyone hated me. Any other?
I think the biggest takeaway for me is that, yes, babies crying are annoying or whatever, but like no one is really worrying about it. You know, as parents, you're so paranoid and so afraid that everyone on the plane is going to hate you or everyone's gonna be so mad. And it's like, yeah, you might get one person who is like the a-hole who just, you know, is upset by it. But like the vast majority of people have either been there or understand it and are supporting. Just approaching it from that perspective, thinking that, hey, everyone is with me versus everyone is against me, just sort of like releases the stress and, you know, like makes it okay. And I think you actually said something really good. You're like, babies have every right to be here as much as humans. And it's like, oh yeah, they do. It's not like we're like sneaking someone on and they shouldn't be here. It's like, no, they are allowed to travel as well.
Babies have every right to be on an airplane as everyone else. Because why? Because they're humans and they have an age. They are minors.
Yeah. And especially this day and age, like even if your baby is crying and sobbing the whole flight and like worst case scenario, most people are using noise canceling headphones. And so like most people probably can't even hear it anyways. I think it's never as bad as you think it's going to be.
It's just so funny. I distinctly remember being a 20-year-old little twat and traveling and being like, oh, I can't believe there's a crying baby on this flight. And I was so selfish. I just couldn't stop thinking about how annoyed I was, how it made me feel, that I never once thought about how that parent must have felt. Nobody is more stressed out than a parent who's trying to calm their baby down. Yes, there's the level of like, well, I don't want to stress other people out, but it's also like your child is upset and you're trying to comfort them. No one is more stressed out than that parent. And I have just never thought about the parent before. Just selfishly thinking about how annoyed I am. I just can't believe what a little asshole I was. Like, all right, well, I think it's time for me to go listen to some T-Swizzle and drink my red whizzle.
I was wondering where you're going to go with that.
Did it disappoint?
No, you nailed it.
Thank you so much for listening. If you are following us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go ahead and hit that follow button. Get notifications when we upload. Sometimes, like last time, I thought I was way ahead of schedule. I scheduled it for when we were traveling, and I accidentally scheduled it for the day that I uploaded it. So it went up 2 days early.
Yeah, sometimes you get a little treat because Loryn doesn't understand scheduling.
Yep. But if you get a notification, if you have notifications on, then you'll know when I have mom brain and when I don't. Thanks for listening. Hope this was helpful. Let us know what other gems for travel that we missed. Something that really helped you. We'll add it to our arsenal.
Yeah, we have another trip coming up in a month, so we need
out.
to test out everything.
I feel like we did it. We went in the trenches and we came out.
We're alive.
We're kapout. That's it. We're alive. That's all you got?
We are alive.
Yeah.
We made it through.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Okay.